And we are back, a little off-season action. Ready to dive in here, the Duval dive, of course. I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game of Jaguar Report. And, of course, with me, my personal champion, Travis Holmes. I don't, that personal champion, that works. I don't know. Anyways, Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country. Welcome in, my guy.
Hey, man, personal champion, people's champion, everybody's champion, whatever. Let's go.
Yeah, hey, well, listen, I'll put it this way. Either way, you're still my rock when it comes to talking about Jacksonville Jaguar football. You set the table. That's your fault.
You smell. I don't know. Yeah, I like it.
You smell what the Holmes is cooking.
Let's go.
Oh, from the hip, man. Hey, glad to have you in. Glad to see all of you back in action here as we do the proverbial thing here, of course. Let's get right into it. Of course, if you're watching the live stream, good on you. If you're not, we're going to be available on all the podcatchers that you come to know and love. Huddle Up YouTube channel, Sartoba Media, A7BN Sports up top, as you've seen, as well as the Student of the Game Facebook Live as well, the SOT Twitter, Twitch page, blah, blah, blah. Twitter as well, the SOTG. Travis Holmes, man. First of all, happy offseason to you. And I think the main reason that I gave you the initial text that we need to light this fire is there's just been a lot of fire out there, not only amongst fans of the, or I shouldn't say fans of the, but rather the Duval devout, as we've come to know and love them, right? That's been rampant up on the socials. But I think a lot of the combination of information there's one commonality, and that's surrounding statements from Trent Baalke and the brass and Coach Peterson. I think around that February, early March area itself. What's kind of your reaction to what you've seen transpire there, whether it be in press conference and speech and fan reaction?
I mean, it's so weird, man. Because again, we in the initial press conference for Trent and Doug, and we all kind of recall our reactions. The takeaway was Trent essentially stated, "Hey, this team was good enough to be in the playoffs, and all of our issues were injuries or were coaching specific." And that was the main overall takeaway that, I think everyone in Jaguar fandom can kind of walk away with on those original end of season press conferences. And it's like, all right, cool. It came across a little rough, but we all kind of understood, at least, whether or not it was right or wrong. But I think we all kind of at least could chew on that for a little bit for about the last month.
I mean,
and then
you and I said that was similar because, hey, if you beat the Titans, you go on to the playoffs. Still a flawed team, as I think both you and I had said. But, you take care of business against the Titans, you get postseason. But go ahead.
And so that's Trent Baalke's that's his argument. And then all of a sudden, after a full 3 weeks to a month, we see Doug, and he's he's at the combine, and he's sounding mighty similar to everything that Trent was saying. All of a sudden, that language, that little flip, you see a switch, and it's like, okay, so they're on the same page. Like, they're on the same page now. All of a sudden, Doug seemed to be saying the same thing that Trent was saying, and it sort of feels like he's leaning on that. They were just injured. We'll figure it out. But some coaching things, we needed to change some scheme things. Again, weird things, and I'm shocked that they wouldn't have changed throughout the season. But okay, they're coming to that conclusion and or agreement. I don't know if I agree with it, but again, I don't make millions of dollars to coach the team. It's not my job. So if they're truly, after watching all the film, after coming to all their conclusions, after seeing everything that they've seen throughout the season, that's where they land on. God bless you. I hope you're right, because that's your job on the line. That is your hot seat that is heating up. It's on you, bro. I hope you. I promise. I swear. If you don't mess this, if they mess that up, I don't know how they come back from it. And that's even with how patient Shad Khan is.
Yeah. Oh, and listen, for just for full clarity and full disclosure, you and I both, whether you're listening on A7BN, Sartoba Media, Huddle Up, 3-point conversion, whichever outlet you're doing it through, you nor I have shown fanfare or we are not bulky people. I am bulky, but I'm not bulky. See what I did? No, so I think we need to lead into that going into this, because as a 49ers fan who covers the Jaguars, I have already been similarly scarred. Don't get me started, okay?
Front row. You got this.
I get to watch a guy win a damn national championship, and now he's coaching the flipping Chargers. I hate powder blue. Anyways,
Uh, but
no,
no, I know I went online and started looking up the Trent Baalke sucks hashtags just to find out how long ago they started, and
uh,
started reading some of the old takes out because they look mighty similar to some of the stuff that people are talking about with the Jaguars. I
wow,
got back as far as 2011.
that's
Um,
amazing.
just an FYI, that's how much of a Trent Baalke guy I am not.
2011. That's like before. That's before Andrew Luck was drafted. That's that. Wow. Okay. Yeesh.
So that's my point. Yeah.
I'm trying to process that still. That's just before the Harbaugh Bowl that was the Super Bowl, I think, something like that. I off the top of my head, I'd have to look up the actual timeline. That's crazy, but yeah. But hey, welcome to the club, son. No, but the punchline's this, man. I'm with you on a lot of that, and I think there's some language out there around trying to secure Josh Allen with the long-term deal.
Right.
Needing more physicality up front and seeing some of the signings that have taken place confusing fans. There's some other cuts that have taken place that will lead to questions too, less related to Trent Baalke, but something where fans are a little worried probably if you see what contributions some guys who have been released have made. But let's get into the biggest thing first. I mentioned Josh Allen in particularly, and a lot of people, a lot of our media brethren are in a particular place where they are basically are very annoyed that a deal isn't done yet. Me, I don't live in that space. Travis, hear me out.
Okay.
When has a major player of late not played a game of chicken with the franchise? The example I used to use was Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. And actually, you're probably remembering last year, I made a similar rant comparing in last year on the Student of the Game. Bing! I made a reel about it and everything.
Mhm.
Lamar Demetrius Jackson and the Ravens did the very same thing. But Kyle, those are quarterbacks. That's not the same. Chris Jones also played that same game of chicken. Hell, they done rammed each other for a minute there because he missed the first game where the Chiefs lost to the Lions by a point.
Right.
This is nothing but posturing. Now, if you want to ask the football question of how much will that impact Josh Allen's play down the road in the season, that is a separate conversation. But if you're surprised that this deal isn't done yet, you already know a deal will be done. They franchise Josh, so nobody else is going to come in. Okay, nobody's going to throw two first round picks at the Jags to get him. And moreover, the Jags can't afford to tick off the Duval Devout any more than they have by not signing him to a long-term deal.
Right.
Winter is coming. This is really a conversation I don't expect to have any finality on until, gosh, I don't know what, July, August. I don't have the dates memorized.
Before July. Before July because of the tag deadline.
Okay, there you go. So, I mean, I'm after mini camp, but before training camp is what I'll say, right? So, what do you sit on that?
I mean, so there's the normal emotional take that you may get from the most of the Duval devout, and that is he's the guy who's done it all the right way, and
Mhm.
he's homegrown talent, and that's the kind of guy you want to resign. A lot of the same things that we used to hear about Unique Ngakwe, honestly.
Ooh,
These are all a lot of the same takes that we would hear. Now, like this is business, man. So we have to take the emotion out of that. So to your point, I actually agree with everything that you just stated 20 seconds ago.
no, mark it.
Uh,
908, March 8th,
yes,
2024. Boom.
yes. Let's take the emotion out of this, man, and let's look at this like a business. You are correct in the fact that most big players will end up playing a game of chicken. However, this wasn't that. I want to acknowledge up front. This obviously was not the. This was not Josh Allen playing a game of chicken with the Jaguars. This is the Jaguars playing. I don't even know what game Frogger. I don't even know what game this would be.
Frog was a
When
good description.
yeah,
If
yeah.
if you're going where I think you're going, Frogger is surprisingly intelligent.
Like you're jumping forward, you're moving back. You don't really know where you want to be as far as these negotiations occur until like the fact that they waited until 5 weeks after the season ended to even begin those negotiations, to have the thought process and the rumors coming out that they're close on a deal, and you're days after your deadline is hit right now, would lead me to then believe that no, the Jaguars just screwed that up. And at
Wow.
the end of the day, I won't say it's a I won't call it this major screw up only because if we're talking about Josh Allen and Josh Allen alone, he's going to be on the roster. They're
But
going to figure it out. They're going to get it right. The only screw up is if you feel the way that you publicly stated that you feel about Calvin Ridley, then you screwed up there. That's because you had the option of having Josh Allen resign had you started negotiating after the end of the season, and then simply franchise tagging Ridley and doing whatever you need to do to make sure, like whether you want to just keep him under that tag or whether you wanted to extend him, you have the option to keep him on the roster without losing that second round draft pick, and you failed at that because of the Josh Allen negotiations.
okay.
That's the difference.
And so when you say screw up, clarify it a little bit for me. Now, if
Okay.
you're saying that they weren't sure what direction they were going to go yet, that's the mistake. All right, I can get behind that.
I felt like they were waiting on the Brian Burns situation to clarify where they should be starting or where they should be landing in their negotiations. And when that went to a franchise tag situation, they were just like, "All right, well, we'll just offer you this." But at this point, you've already wasted 5 weeks now
And for those who may not know, how is Brian Burns relevant?
because he's sort of setting what the free agent market is for this offseason for
He's
the
another signing.
outside line. Yeah, right, correct. So
Okay.
that's letting you know, wait, where in this hierarchy should we be?
Well, and frankly, I hear where you're going with the Brian Burns. Maybe it was something they were waiting for. If they were, I think even considering that an example is a mistake because frankly, you need to be talking to Josh Allen as if he's resetting the market. Okay.
Mm.
If you aren't looking at this that way, you're screwing it up. I'll agree with
Ooh.
that statement 100%.
So we disagree on that piece. That's
Yes, we do.
curious. You're thinking Josh Allen resetting the market, and I'm thinking, all right, Josh Allen is better than Sweat, but not necessarily at the level of you're talking who Nick Bosa. You're talking
Here's the problem. You're using a football argument. I'm telling you it's a business statement. Moreover, in an NFL where
I
we're looking
know.
at in I know you know it's a business. Don't
No. I know, but I'm thinking like Trent Baalke. We're talking about Trent Baalke, the same guy who we already
this is
heard the
why he's more
rumors.
likely to make the mistake I'm talking about, right? Think about this. Think about
So
this.
he's the same guy who we've also heard the same rumors about the fact that just 1 year ago he did not view Josh Allen as a number one, as a true number one, and viewed him more like a number two. So now we have one offseason later, that same guy's going to come to the table and be like, we're going to reset the market with the same guy that I 1 year ago did not believe in, and now I fully believe in him. The way that they've
He had
negotiated
a
that,
good year last year. I think that's fair.
yeah, the way that they've been negotiating with him says, I don't truly know how to feel about this, so I'm going to just wait. That's
See,
what it says to me.
this is the beauty of it. You and I are this is good. Okay, you're gonna like this reference. Stick with me on this one. This is Will Smith and Gene Hackman in Enemy of the State. All right.
Okay.
Either Trent Baalke is incredibly smart, like I'm implying, or he's incredibly stupid, like you are. Either he's absolutely whiffing outright and misreading Josh Allen, or he's doing what he can to bring his value down via perception in the media, just like we saw with Lamar Demetrius Jackson, right? And to bring his value down just so, and listen, a million here, a million there in this salary cap that they have. But Kyle, they have 21 million under the cap or so. Okay, sure. But they got so many damn guys upcoming. Trust me. Don't feel like any cap space they have right now, especially with the gaggle of players waiting to be signed in 2 years, is enough because it ain't. Okay. That's where I'm at with that. And we'll talk about that more a little bit more with a little bit. But does that make sense as I place it there, Travis?
I think I can agree with you. Again, Trent Baalke, and to be clear, I'm not saying that Trent Baalke is so dumb or anything like that. Because again, he's great at negotiating contracts. He's good at trying to make sure he has that out at year two, worst case scenario, year three. Like he's really good at that piece of it. He's
Right.
great at manipulating the media, contrary to everyone else's belief. The fact that this man is Littlefinger and he still has a job tells you everything that you need to know about how great he is at manipulating the media and seeing all the things and saying all the right things to the right people. So let me be clear in stating this. This guy, I am not calling him dumb by any means. I do believe that he has done all the things that you stated, but there is also a mixture of that because again, we're still stating that this football guy who doesn't truly know football things, if that makes any sense. He's a football guy who's tried in the past and been wrong on multiple occasions where he's stating this scheme item that is not. Yeah, he's incorrect on the what and his understanding of the scheme, if that makes any sense.
Oh,
Like,
I mean,
you've seen that whole situation with the 49ers in the past when they pulled the guy to the side and had the whole conversation about a coverage, and it was an totally different coverage, and like, the guy's trying not to curse him out because he's like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. That's what I'm referencing. It's like, all right, cool, he's a football guy, but as we all know, he's not the greatest football guy. So it's like,
yeah.
Lord, how do you
By the
figure
way,
that piece out?
considering the fact you made what's his word, Game of Thrones reference
Hmm.
with Trent Baelish Balky there, aka Littlefinger. Shouts to Drew Willingham coming in with a reverse
The
Game of
winter's
Thrones
leaving.
reference. Winter is leaving. Yeah, no, it seems that way for sure. Yeah, with summer upcoming, right? Summer is coming. That doesn't have the same strike. No, I think there's a lot of there with what you're saying. Which, that's why I tie what you're saying about him reducing, air quotes, Josh Allen's value out there as being a tactic. Maybe not one I would personally utilize, but I'll leave it at that. But at the end of the day, I maintain, what was it? It was Jamal Sikri on the News 4, Sports News 4 podcast, quoting Jalen Ramsey. The money's always there.
The
I
money's always
don't
there.
agree with that, because I'll combat with a statement from Nick Wright that is eventually the bill does still come due. And I think the
Yeah.
Jags are in no position to put themselves in that position, especially with the following names needing long-term contracts or departure in one of the two, right? Ridley, Allen,
Mm,
Trevor, Cisco, and now we haven't even brought up Ed Travis Etienne yet, but he gone probably because they ain't going to pay him, right?
correct. Correct.
You know,
That's a fifth year. That's a fifth year option situation, or draft another guy, and he more likely than not will end up being either replaced or just
well,
outright.
just as a comment here, Travis, have you seen the free agency list out there for running backs this
Mm,
season? A
right.
damn. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot of there, and Bulky may be finding himself scared in bulky fashion. And
Well,
that is to say, there's going to be a lot going on in the next couple off seasons.
in my personal opinion, you only name three players. You named Trevor Lawrence, who they're already discussing extension right now. I mean, you might get it. Knock on wood, you may have him extended before the start of the season, or early training camp or something
Would you
along those
prefer I
lines.
keep going? I could have brought up Walker Little as well. I mean, like,
For what? I don't know. I'm not 100. There's a non-zero chance right now that Walker Little just simply plays that contract out. They just play that contract out and try to play the comp pit game, or
what
just simply trade him away. Like,
as I said, it's a departure or pay or depart kind of game here. Yeah, and there's your
right,
to your point. There's no guarantee that Walker Little remains here. Hell, even if you look into my article on jaguarreport.com, bing, or I should say the Jaguar Report of www.si.com/Jaguars, bing, there we go, about why the Jags should or shouldn't trade L'Jarius Sneed. I list
mm,
a possible trade in Cam Robinson over to the Chiefs to reunite Jawan Taylor.
right,
I mean, there's a lot going on there, and a lot of ways you can move cap. We didn't even bring up Zay Jones.
right. We haven't brought up Zay Jones. We haven't brought up
Then brought up Kirk.
Cam Kirk. There's a lot of options, and I know no one in Jacksonville wants to trade Kirk because they love him. I love him. Everybody in the media loves him. We
Please,
all love him. So,
Christian
just to
Kirk.
be clear, the
Okay.
Duval dive is not.
Pro Christian
We
Kirk on
are
this
so
podcast.
pro Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk, you don't understand. So no, we are not promoting that. We are simply giving options based on where the numbers currently are, based on where the team currently is. That is all.
And for the record, to pay love to my defensive brethren as an offensive guy here, as the offensive guy on this panel of two, uh, the same applies in transfer at this point to Foye Oluokun. Okay,
Right.
these idiots. Oh, trade Foye! Stop it! Not happening. Okay, just had to get that out there.
But it's not that we truly want the team to trade for you. To be clear, it's just one of those things that if you feel like you can get 90%, maybe even 85% of the production in the run game from someone else who's a rookie, or Ventrell Miller or Chad Moomer, etc., and maybe even get a little bit better in the passing game, is that something that you'd want? Is that a move you'd want to make if you have a much better defensive, defensive nose guard or defensive tackle? If they get someone like Christian Wilkins, and all of a sudden you're changing up, like, is that something that you would be open to? And that's the question.
If you get Christian Wilkins, all you've done is extend Foye Oluwakun's productive career. Let's be clear on that.
I hear you. All I'm saying is that the Atlanta Falcons had essentially two rookie inside linebackers in that defense, and it was I believe a combined salary last year around $1 million. Like, and they got away with that with a really good defense, and that's kind of my point. So if you've seen them do something along those lines. It's not to say that they couldn't do it when we already know we have Ventura Miller and we have Chad Movement as options. That's all we're saying. We're not saying that we're trying to kick Foye out the door. We love Foye, but it is an option and it is a business based on the salary.
Yeah, I'll put it. I hear your point. Just do me a favor, please, please, please use a better example than somebody that has 6 games against the damn NFC South. Can we do that? Thank you.
You act like the AFC South was so difficult as far as running the ball is concerned. We got to more about the quarterbacks now.
No, I'm glad you brought that up because that does show a general philosophy change, and that will be relevant come draft time here.
Right.
I have said many times on why I was not necessarily pro Walker getting the top overall pick, but I was at least less skeptical than others. And I'm not even including you in that sentence because you hated it, but you didn't hate it the way some of the true haters like.
Bingo. I hated it, but I understood it. I knew why they did it.
I think I'm like 1 or 2 degrees milder than you on that. The people who are like, Hutchinson, okay, listen, great. His sack numbers may be higher, but down the line, when you do part with Foye, or God forbid, should Foye get hurt and they move him inside to help, especially with Fatukasi, speaking of things that cut, it's not just his contract. My heart and yours were both casualties in that one, sir.
Yes, sir.
But with him gone now, moving Trayvon inside some to help is going to be a thing that happens. So
it's going to be a thing that happens. Now, how often it happens is going to be the conversation. I mean, we all have our theories based on how the New Orleans Saints used to run their defense, based on how the Atlanta Falcons last year ran their defense. But we just won't know it until we start getting into training camp, when these coaches get their hands on him and just find out, hey, what does he do well? This is what the tape shows. What are we seeing in real life? All right, cool. Maybe he will go inside 25% of the time. Maybe we'll chunk it up to 40% of the time. Who knows? I guess they'll have to drill that out and kind of figure out, pros and cons, strengths, and maybe weaknesses, depending on who's that third pass rusher they potentially might bring in.
Well, let's take it to the other side of the ball with the offensive line. And let me lead this by saying, as the person on this panel who I think there are times when I've blamed more the interior offensive line than you have.
Okay.
I've been called a Trevor apologist. I'm not going to go that far. I think I'm just that critical of having to watch this bad a play on the interior. But the truth is, there's been a lot of injury and there's been a lot of chemistry issues. Now, I'm not going so far as Coach Peterson. Oh, well, our starting line in the last week, that was the only time they played together. Okay. Hold the phone, Chief. Like, can we please not count Cam being on suspension for however many months, and please remember that Ezra was brought in the building mid-season before you go saying things like that. I want to say this because I am thoroughly impressed, and I think you are too, by Anton Harrison and what he's done his rookie year. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I think we're both in full agreement on Harrison. Like, and we always had that whole dichotomy of push and pull of trying to figure out how good is he compared to an NFL veteran, and that's always that's an impossible conversation, just because of NFL vet. Even an average NFL vet is generally going to be better than most of your best rookie offensive linemen. There's just some things you're going to have to learn through that experience. And they placed them in a lot of one-on-one situations with a lot of great defensive tackles and outside linebackers. So
the opponent was the big thing there too. But what has brought the lament amongst the fanhood and the social medias is, and listen, I get it, but the extended contracts of Ezra Cleveland and Brandon Scherff. How do you actually even say his name?
Scherff.
Scherff. There we go. It's not. Yeah. Okay. Scherff. It's more of a you than an I. Got it. The punchline's this: I get, and this is where I sit. You're free to disagree with me.
Okay.
I get keeping faith in Ezra Cleveland. Personally, I don't think every game he played was great, but I think he was good enough for a guy who arrived late for a line that was decimated objectively throughout times of the year. That's why Trevor got missed. Well, he didn't miss 3 games, but he got
Right.
hurt significantly in 3 games, missed time, and played throughout the season hurt.
Right.
Was that Sheriff? I don't have an answer. I hate it.
Well,
Um,
don't hate it. Don't what? Don't hate it. Like don't. That's been a weird thing for me because both of these, I think the reaction from all Jags fans, who the vast majority, 99.999% of whom are not millionaires, um, all are reacting not to the play of the individual players, just they're reacting to the sum. They're reacting to, hey man, if 4 out of 5 of these guys are back, you are essentially saying that this was all Luke Fortner's fault without saying this was all Luke Fortner's fault because otherwise, what are we doing here? And I fully understand the thought process. It takes everything in my mind not to have that immediate knee jerk reaction. However, Ezra came over not fully healthy, which we knew by his last few weeks in Minnesota. He wasn't fully healthy when he got here. He was learning a new scheme. They were trying to give him a little bit of baby food and getting acclimated in the first few games at guard. And he still played not incredible, not great, but okay.
well enough is how I
And
put it. Yeah.
so if you want to get a full book on him, you have to go back to his Minnesota 2022 season where he was one of the top 8 guards at that point. All right, cool. If that's the argument you want to make, and then the numbers originally came out saying, $28 million and 14 million guaranteed, and the final numbers actually showed closer to 24 million, and a lot of that being workout bonuses and things of that nature. You know what? After the final numbers came off, everyone's trying to kind of stepped off the
Yeah.
cliff.
And like I said, I dug the Ezra Cleveland extension, A, football wise, and B, both extensions are significant dollar savings on the cap. I
Bingo.
agree with that.
But Scherf, that's a different thing because we still haven't seen the final numbers because they're still trying to work through that. But John Shipley,
You
from the
mean I
Jaguars,
ordered that Jaguar report? Bing!
yes, from the Jaguar report, John Shipley already stated that it was supposed to be some kind of a pay reduction. So whatever the pay cut's going to look like, we don't know the specific numbers. However, we can state this was a business move. Beforehand, the Jaguars are already going to have a $14 million cap hit or dead cap on Scherf if he were just to be cut outright. So if you already have a $14 million dead cap, what's the difference of changing that to salary? Maybe giving him up to seven. If you give him up to $7 million, it's a negligible difference. Like we're not. It's at that point you can have him on the roster for your competition. You can bring in anyone you want to bring, and you want to give him $14 million not to play, or you want to convert 7 million of that and bring in someone else and kind of just figure out where you stand when you get the draft picks and whatever other people you're bringing in. And either way, it doesn't make as long as it's under 7 million or less. What are we talking about? Nothing materially changed.
That's interesting. So theoretically, they could. I'm not saying this is perfect trade or what's going to happen, but theoretically, if they make the contract more friendly, not only is it better on their books, but it also makes a contract more palatable to a trade partner. So let's say they draft a guard, and then let's say, and this none of this is to scale, so don't beat me up on the particulars. But if they trade, let's say, to the Bears to move up, or down, or however that works,
Yeah.
sure, it could be a piece in such a deal. Granted, I'm not saying it's the Bears directly and that they're going for the number 1 pick. I'm not saying, but it's somebody in the middle who's looking for a new quarterback. So let's say like a Pittsburgh or like a Denver or something like that. I mean, if they come in and get Scherf, that would put them in a position to potentially upgrade their interior line and protect whatever new asset they're going to acquire since they've parted with Rusty, right?
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but also it's so early to even be talking about that. I only say that because this guard, you can get guards in this draft right now up until like the 4th and 5th round, as far as the draft is concerned, and the free agent guard market is so freaking deep. So right now, until we figure out where everyone's landing, I don't even know there's any of that. I think it's just that he's the guy who we already have in house. We think he can be better if he's not having to help out the center every play, and maybe he might even have one healthy year. And again, overall, the number, if you're talking 7 million or around that range of converted salary, then you're not talking about any material difference versus having him off the roster for nothing or having him on the roster and just competing for a role. So I think it's a much ado about nothing because we just don't like how that last season went, and that Jaguar fans have that bad taste in their mouth.
Hey, listen, if they draft the appropriate center or bring in the appropriate center, all these conversations will go moot. I agree with you as well. Travis, looks like we're already out of time, buddy. We didn't even get to anything. Tell the people where you can be found, my guy.
Hey, just to let everyone know behind the scenes, we already had a bet that we wouldn't be able to get through everything, and I told him he was wrong, and he was absolutely right. Just FYI. You can find me on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Threads, Facebook, etc., Instagram. You can find my writings covering the Jaguars at bigcatcountry.com, and you can find me on just find me on any of those socials. I'm doing stuff on various podcasts every week, writing up everything on the Jaguars. Look at the most recent posting as of this morning, Friday morning, the Jacksonville Jaguars 2024 free agency signings tracker. We're going to be updating that all throughout the draft. Anything that's from rumored interest to players being signed to additional roster moves like Brandon Scherf's restructuring that's nearing completion, etc. on bigcatcountry.com.
I'm glad you got to it eventually because I was poised to ask, where could I find that? And then you gave us the site. I'm glad, Travis, you're getting, listen, for all your ego, you're getting less humble. And I like
Dang.
I only say that because you're a skill position guy at the cornerback spot. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you hate us little guys. I understand.
It's not you. It's just your mentality. No, I'm kidding.
I'm a regular size compared to normal people. It's just small compared to football players, man.
What are you trying to say, Travis?
You need to eat more. I got you.
I need to eat more. I got ribs thawed in the fridge. Let's do it. Of course, I'm Kyle Nash, a student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Threads, and Instagram at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as a student of the game. Check out my writings with the Jaguar Report. As I mentioned too, should or shouldn't the Jags trade for L'Jarius Sneed out of Kansas City? We'll probably talk more about the corners next week since we didn't this week because I miss this guy. That's the problem. Of course, check out my work as well with the Black and Gold Banneret and the 3-point conversion. The 3-point conversion, by the way, their iHeartRadio channel will also be playing this spectacular goodness this weekend, as well as oldschool101.com on Sunday from 12 to 2. So check that out as well, alongside of the Student of the Game podcast, which goes live Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. Check that out. Next week, I'm going to have CBS Sports' Brandon Howard aboard to talk about running back economy. We alluded to the free agency that's out there and how maligned the running back position is. We'll be talking with Brandon Howard about the ability for the running back market to maybe restore itself to its proper value with all these big names out there in free agency. We'll get into that and more then Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern with the Student of the Game. And I dropped all the places that I'm writing and such. Look out for college basketball coverage with the Big 12 tournament from UCF's point of view as well on the Black and Gold Banneret. Travis, man, great episode. An honor, joy, and privilege to talk to you all, my friends. But until next time, everyone, class dismissed.